What's up guys, Ojo is here again. In this video, I'll step you through the very first 7 things you should do after installing, or the very first 7 things I do after I finish installing a Kali Linux instance on VirtualBox. Now, some of the steps on this list are optional, while some are actually fixes for problems you might encounter while getting Kali Linux to work on VirtualBox. So, without further ado, let's get to it. On number 1, we want to connect our Kali Linux virtual machine to the Ethernet. Now, for your Kali to be useful for anything, first you want to make sure that your installation has internet access. And the Kali Linux virtual machine we're going to be working on is one we created in a previous tutorial. I'll leave links to that in the description below. Now let's go get that virtual machine connected to the internet. This is the Kali Linux virtual machine we created from the previous tutorial. I'm going to go make sure that we have internet access for this virtual machine. Now if I get myself off the way, you see this icon right here, and if I right click on it and click on network settings, this will bring me to its network settings configuration, and you can see I'm already attached to NAT network. NAT is the default network configuration for virtual machines on VirtualBox. But if for some reason you are facing internet connectivity issues, just go ahead and change this to bridge adapter, and right here you have various adapters with which your host machine is getting internet access. Now for this example, my Broadcom 802.11n network adapter, which is my internal Wi-Fi card for this host machine, I am getting Wi-Fi connection with this adapter. So when I select this, it will also give me internet connection to my Kali Linux virtual machine. When I press OK on that, the settings will save. You can also access this setting from machines and settings and network. So I just thought to show you that. Now a quick check to really confirm that we have internet connection. I am going to open a terminal right here and ping at Google. Now if you have ICMP packets being sent back, that means we have internet connection for sure. Now these are the ICMP packets being sent back. That means internet connection is sure on this virtual machine right here. So I'm going to press Ctrl+C to abort that, and we'll move on to step 2. Having confirmed that we have internet connectivity on our Kali virtual machine, next we have to update and upgrade our Kali installation. Now it's absolutely important we do an update and an upgrade on your newly installed Kali Linux operating machine. Even if you're not installing for the first time and maybe your installation has been there for a while, just always be in the habit of doing an update and an upgrade before you install a package. Now the commands to update and upgrade on Linux systems is pretty easy. To update, you need to type sudo apt update, and to upgrade you need to type sudo apt upgrade. Now over on our virtual machine, our Kali virtual machine here, I'm going to type in apt update. You see that I left the sudo part out of it. That's because I'm already a root user on this virtual machine, so I do not need to append in sudo apt then update, because I'm already root. I have the highest privileges on this virtual machine. Now apt updates -y always tells the computer to answer yes for whatever query that will come during the installation. So I'm going to leave that out so that I can show you something right here. So when I go apt update, now you see we are indeed having an issue. If I also try to apt upgrade, nothing is working. Now let's go back to that post and see what's wrong. If you see on note 1, I have, if you are getting key expired issues when trying to run the above commands, it's best you do step 3. Now we'll talk about step 3 in a bit. But what I want you to see is on note 2, if you are sure you have an internet connection, which we do, and are getting an error when you try to update, like we are getting an error right now. So we should try out this solution in this post. Now I'm going to click on that post to take us there. We have to fix apt/update not working in our Kali Linux virtual machine. Now I'll leave a link to this post as well. You can go ahead and read, but I'm just going to skip ahead to where the solution is. So what we want to do is we're going to type this code into a terminal window to access our sources.list file, which is empty at the moment. Then next we're going to put in this address into the space, so we have something like this. Let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to type in nano/etc/apt/sources.list. When I press enter, skip below to the bottom of this page and write in that address. So you're going to, now if you attempt to copy, this won't work, because until we are done with step 7 of this post in this video, we won't be able to have a copy and paste functionality where we can copy something from our host machine onto our virtual machine, because this is a browser on my host machine. So what I want to do, so that we don't make mistake in copying this, I'm going to show you something I normally will do. I'm going to come into our virtual machine and access a browser from this virtual machine, because when I do a copy from the virtual machine, I'm able to paste into this terminal window. So I'm going to access that same post I have on my host machine on this virtual machine. So here I've opened a browser. I'm going to open Firefox browser. Then on a new tab, I'll search for that post we're working with from our host machine. So the post is first. Now I'm able to paste into this window because I am pasting from the virtual machine into the virtual machine as well. Now go ahead and press Ctrl X, Y for yes, and enter to save. Now when you perform an update, this will work now. So let's see that in action. Go ahead and type in apt update, and now our apt update has been fixed and it's working. And when that is done, we are ready to perform an upgrade. Now updating has finished. Go ahead and press apt upgrade. Now if you see right here, this needs to download 263 MB of archives. Now I do not have that time to sit right here and wait for all 263 MB of archives to be downloaded and installed. So I'm going to abort this operation for upgrade and continue on. So but you go ahead and make sure you upgrade your system. So with that said, let's move on to step 3. Third on our list is obtaining the current or latest GPG keys. Now invalid or expired GPG key signatures are one of the errors you might face when using Kali Linux. That occurs when you have left your Kali Linux installation for a while without updating or without upgrading, and when you come back a while after to use it, the GPG keys might have changed, because Kali is a rolling distro and updates are continuously being delivered to the OS. So when you come to use it after a while, the keys might have changed, and what you need to do is fix it so you get the current GPG keys at the time. So to do that, either of these codes, just copy it and paste it into your terminal window, and that will fix it. Now for this our virtual machine, we actually do not need to import new GPG keys. because we haven't left it for long, obviously. But for the sake of completeness in this video, I'm just going to show you how it will look when you actually do import the current GPG keys. So I'm going to copy from here. Oh, I can't copy from here because I won't be able to paste on the virtual machine. So on our virtual machine, into our browser, on that post, I'm going to go copy this GPG address here, right here. Now copy this, go back to our terminal and paste it. Now when I press on enter, this is going to go obtain the GPG keys from this address at kali.org archives-key.asc, and it's going to import it. If you see GPG keys process 1 imported 1, then that has successfully imported your new GPG keys. That will fix a lot of headache and frustration for you, trust me. Okay, moving on to the fourth one, we are now ready to install VirtualBox guest additions. This will enable us have full screen mode, clipboard sharing, so we could do copy paste from our host to guest, and as well as drag and drop functionalities. Now before we go ahead, a quick look at this VirtualBox window right here. You can see we are having this in a windowed mode here, even when this window has been maximized. This is pretty easy to fix. All we need to do is type in this address to install VirtualBox guest utilities, and we reboot the system. Now let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and type apt install, not uninstall, install VirtualBox guests. Okay, I'm going to use tab on that, X11, then press enter. Now 43 MB of archives is going to be downloaded for VirtualBox utilities to be installed. This will also go ahead to install the VirtualBox guest DKMS, VirtualBox guest utils, as well as upgrade some of those packages that I have refused to upgrade in earlier parts of this video. Alright, go ahead and press yes and enter. The installation of VirtualBox guest utilities has completed. Go ahead and reboot now. Just type in reboot now. Okay, we have full screen mode here. Our VirtualBox guest additions installation was largely successful. So next, what we want to do is we are now set to enable shared clipboard and drag and drop. We'll go back into our Kali Linux virtual machine and we'll click on machine and settings. In general, we are going to click on the advanced tab. Now we can see shared clipboard is disabled. We're going to enable that for bidirection, and drag and drop, we enable that for bidirection as well. Now click OK to save that setting. So in order to really test whether we cannot copy our clipboard data from the host to the guest, let's quickly go back to my host machine right here and test with one of these commands right here. Let's try reboot now and see whether that actually in fact works. So I'm going to pull up a terminal window right here, and I'm going to do Ctrl+Shift+V to paste, and you see that is working flawlessly. I would have tried for the drag and drop features, but no, we can already see that VirtualBox guest addition already in fact works. Now we're moving to step number 5. On step 5, we will change our SSH keys and default passwords. Now every Kali Linux installation uses the same default password, which is root written in reverse to spell Tor right here, and also the same default SSH keys are generated. Now if you installed Kali Linux using a .ova file and not like the .iso file we used in the previous tutorial, you definitely have Tor as your default password for the root user. We could fix that by changing the password, and it is very highly advisable you change your password. But if you use the ISO file like we did in our last tutorial, then we add the opportunity to put in whatever password you wished during the installation procedure. Now, in changing a password on Linux is very easy. Just open a terminal window and type in passwd followed by your username, and your password will be changed successfully. Let's see how that works right here. Now go ahead and type in passwd root in this case, and you'll be prompted to put in a new password. Type that password twice and your password will be successfully updated. Easy peepsy, that is very easy to do. Now for the SSH keys that are being generated, we could go in to change our default SSH keys or to regenerate new ones, but I found out that for this light version of Kali Linux, we don't usually have SSH servers generated at first, so we are going to skip this. But if for some reason you have SSH server generated, go ahead and navigate using cd into the SSH folder and then type in this to regenerate your SSH keys. I'm not going to show that because I do not have that situation on this virtual machine. Now, number 6, we are going to create a standard user account. If you installed Kali Linux directly on your computer, creating a standard user account is highly recommended for you to do. But in this case, we installed Kali on VirtualBox, so it is quite optional if you wanted to create a standard user account. Now, let's go ahead and see how we create a new user and how we also add that user to the sudo users group. Now to do that, go ahead to your Kali Linux virtual machine and type in add user followed by the name you want your new user to have. Now for this, I'm just going to give it, for lack of imagination, demo. So demo is the new user I'm going to create. When I press enter, I am prompted to give in a new password for this new user. So I'm going to type in a password and I'll confirm that. So for the full name, you could put it, you could go ahead to fill this form, but I'm just going to press enter to leave them as nil. Yes, the information is correct. Press enter to finish. Okay. The last thing to do for a user is to add that user to the sudo users group. So what that does is give that user the ability to function, temporarily as root instead of switching over to the root user to perform duties that require root users to perform, e.g. to update. So I'm going to do add user, then I'm going to type in the username I just created, then I'm going to type in sudo. So when I press in this is going to add that user demo to the sudo users group. So when I switch over to my demo user, now I can perform an apt update. If I go ahead and perform apt update first of all, because this is a function that should be done by root users only, you see I will have permission denied right here. But when I append that command with sudo apt updates, then it will run flawlessly after I type my password, because I've been successfully able to add demo, which is my new user created, to the sudo users group. So I'm going to abort this right here, and that will be the end of 6. Moving on to step 7. Okay, finally on item 7, we are taking a snapshot of our current VirtualBox settings for our Kali Linux virtual machine. Now that we are done with the first things to do after a fresh install of Kali Linux, it's time we take a snapshot of the current settings. So this step is highly recommended when working with virtual machines, because as a beginner you will mess things up. And when you do, instead of going back to installing Kali Linux from the start and going through, fixing apt-get not working, going through updates, installing upgrade, now you could just revert to an earlier point where your newly installed Kali Linux machine was still very fresh. And that is also likened to something like the restore point we have on Windows operating systems. So to take a snapshot, let me quickly jump into my virtual machine right here on the VirtualBox manager. just click on this hamburger button here and click snapshots. Now you see I already have one snapshot here already. That is this initial installation I created 17 hours ago for this virtual machine. Now to create a new snapshot, just while on this current state, while this machine is running, you would have current state. Now just click on take on top and you give this snapshot a name. Now what is appropriate for me to give for this snapshot is, I could say, after VirtualBox gets additions installation. Yes, because actually this snapshot is after I just installed VirtualBox gets additions and the rest. So you could go ahead and give this a snapshot description, but I'll leave this blank and just click OK. Now the snapshot is being created, and there you have it. After VirtualBox gets addition installation, snapshot has been created. So what this means is any change I make after this point to this virtual machine and I mess something up in the future, I could just easily revert back to this point where everything was fine and working well. So instead of me having to maybe create another virtual machine from scratch, I'll just restore a snapshot I have before now. Okay, I think that will be all for the first things to do after installing Kali Linux. Alright, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to respond to you as soon as possible. It's been Ojoizi. Thank you for watching.